What's going on, everybody? My name is Ace and welcome to Ace Plays Cities Skylines. First and foremost, I want to welcome you all to my channel and this new series. I'm sure as most of you can tell, this is the first video and series on my channel. Today we are going to be playing Cities Skylines, one of my all-time favorite strategy games. This game is, before we get into this game, is an awesome game. Really intriguing. I mean, I think it kind of captures the player and puts you in a position where you're doing things that you never would have expected or never would have thought to do. Getting really, I'm not an artistic person, really, I wouldn't say, but obviously this game kind of brings that out of me, and it's, one of the things that I like about it, and I think one of the huge strengths of it. It's a very fun game. If you have not tried it, I highly recommend it. So just kind of want to start out really quick and go over what I'm looking for from this series and kind of what I want to be able to bring to you as my viewer. The idea is kind of to create calming, relaxing gaming content that people can watch at their leisure and be able to take you along a journey of building a massive city, investing the time into the details, and investing the time into creating something that is awesome to look at. So with that being said, I want to kind of get into things right away. We are starting here on a map called Colossal Hillside. It is a Steam Workshop map. I have actually done a couple builds on it before. It is a really awesome map. I will say, so the starting point definitely provides some challenges. You start off immediately in an area where you've got highway breaking right through your, cutting off about half and half area on either side. It's, you got to be careful here. Obviously, you don't want to build too much. There's obviously opportunities for creating more of a tourism-based economy in this area, so we want to make sure that the development we're doing here can be at least modified over time. We don't want to go too heavy residential. We want to be a little bit more dynamic in that way. Obviously, like I said, the highway here does present some difficulties. What I think is an important factor to know about, to think about regarding the starting location, however, is that we do have the opportunity to allow the highway to break up some different usages. So we're getting this built-in barrier between, say, an industrial area breaking off this entry, this exit off this interchange, as well as more commercial usages that maybe would be a little bit disjoint, or should be a bit disjoint from our residential usages. So I also want to go over really quick, I will be using mods on this series. This will not be a vanilla series, although I'm more than open and excited to the idea, or open to the idea of doing that. Like I said, more than happy to do so. I do think mods make the game better. I think it takes out tediousness from the game, and I do highly recommend them. Obviously, down in the description you'll be able to see all of the types of mods that I have. I do want to say one of the biggest mods that I have that does impact the gameplay hugely is called Population Revisited, as well as Lifespan Revisited. And what those two mods do together is create a much more realistic experience in terms of where people live, the household sizes, as well as the lifespans. So you don't really get the stereotypical or the archetypal death waves where when you build a city and a couple days in or a couple of game days in, there are hundreds of dead bodies or things like that, because in reality people don't all die at the same time, and people do not live for 3 days. So it is a much more, in my opinion, it brings a lot more immersion to the game. It brings a lot less stress from trying to deal with very very acute instances of death and things of that nature. So I think you'll probably, anybody who's played the game before, you'll notice right away that the action, the way it acts, is very different from what you're used to. And one other thing before we start getting building and everything like that, I do want to say I am not an expert in any way of city building or planning, so I will most likely make many mistakes that people with more understanding the game will think is stupid. I just want to say that up front, and that the goal of this series, like I said, is to enjoy ourselves and kind of go along this journey. The first thing I think we need to do before we start getting building and modifying the landscape a bit is establishing the city name. So the name default is always set to Los Cruz. I think that a more fitting, first thing I think when I see this is Mountain View. Although I do know that Mountain View is actually a pretty large town in large city in California, and that is actually where Google's headquartered. But I think maybe because of that, so obviously I don't want to go directly and pick that name. Maybe a good name would be New Mountain View. So I think we'll go ahead and change our name to New Mountain View. For the time being. I think obviously, if there's any better names in the comments, things like that, please feel free to let me know, and I would love to allow the community to choose the name of the city. But I do think that's kind of a fitting name. Another option, Mountain View Beach maybe, but I do think New Mountain View is quite fitting because there is quite an expanse of land over here, and there are mountains everywhere, and it is a gorgeous place with tons of mountains to view. So I think we'll stick with that for now, and I think we'll get started as well. So we can keep it paused for now and get going. I do think that this should most likely not be a one-way. Obviously, I guess there's an interchange here, and moving forward, we'll most likely have to either consolidate these into one interchange, or maybe move this interchange down here and that one up there into a more fitting layout, because I don't really something I really don't like from the start is the way that this is funneling traffic that would otherwise, traffic from here, for example, if we build out residential here, that would otherwise go this way is actually going to be forced to go this way. So I think a fitting solution to that already, looking forward, is going to be putting another interchange here on some of this flatter area, removing this interchange, or keeping it and outfitting it a bit more, and then turning this into its own independent interchange. So we'll get started. Obviously, that's all down the line. At the moment, we can't really do anything. So what I'd like to start doing is creating residential offshoots here. And I think that that'll be fitting, like I said, because in the end of the day, this is where our residential district is most likely going to start. And I think that this will be a great place for people to live. So go ahead and start making some roads. I don't like, I'm going to turn Anarchy on for the moment. I don't like the non-90 degree angle of this road. It is a three-laner. You know what? I think I do have an asset here for 3 lanes, so I think I'm gonna wait. This is a 3. Yeah. See, and also another weird thing. This is a three-lane one-way road, which is highly peculiar for something like this. This should be a 2-way road without a doubt. So we're gonna just go ahead and destroy that for now because I don't like it at all. And I think we'll also make it straight so that we can build right angles off of it. This might be very expensive though, so we may or may not have to modify this in the future. Let's see how much that's coming out to. No, $4,000, that's perfectly fine. And because we will likely not need this, I see, okay. So there's an issue here, obviously this is out of the map, so it's giving us a little bit of a fuss with that, but that's fine. We can create a different intersection, and one of our first priorities will be buying this up so that we don't have this ugly weird piece of land. I know a lot of you probably will sit there and say that you don't like the fact that I did that, but in the end of the day, I would like to continue along this path rather than sitting here worrying about what's outside the map. So I do think we'll create because this is it is a one-way that way. So for now, we will comply with the preset road network, and we will create an offshoot here. So this is, like I said, I think it's pretty ugly, but of course, until we actually get into a position where we can modify the terrain outside, we cannot affect this. So unfortunate as it may be, it's gonna have to do for now. So like I said, the goal here was to make that road straight and also provide a more appropriate two-lane road for our citizens to be able to get to and from the highway. So we'll go back to the straight road tool and go 2 blocks from these junctions. And I think with that, we can get started with some zoning. So one of the things that I prefer with zoning, I don't particularly love zoning residential on the main road. I think obviously it's nice to have especially in suburban American neighborhoods, it's nice to have kind of a break off between main roads and where people live, just so that there can be, you know, it's nice to have people, allowing people to walk around, and these main roads are likely to see much less pedestrian traffic than, you know, these roads that are smaller. It creates a good opportunity for building schools in these nooks and crannies in these neighborhoods. So before we unpause everything, we're going to need to get some energy, as well as water solutions. So I do have the green city pack, so I am also quite quite fond of renewable energy. I drive an electric car, so I think that it's quite fitting for me to create a community that does follow those ideals. So we're gonna try and do all we can to make sure that our community is built off of renewable energy. And because it's kind of like a weird place to put the water, I do plan on changing that in the future. But for now, I think just to be able to get this connection, I will create a bit of a extended roadway here, and bring the sewer lines and the water lines up from there. So we'll get those built. Another one built here in case we want to zone some commercial along this main stretch. And another thing we'll need before we unpause, one more thing, is the inclusion of a service road of some kind, and to put a kind of municipal. So somebody might have noticed, by the way, that was a quick jump cut. I actually noticed that my Move It mod wasn't working, so I went ahead and made sure that was installed properly. Did some small troubleshooting. Like I said, the goal with this series is to create a hands-on vibe, and I will definitely minimize the amount of jump cuts and things like that. The goal really is to bring you guys along on this journey as opposed to edit things away. So at the moment, what I'm trying to do here is kind of just create a more natural slope up to this area. I do feel that it looks a little bit sharp, so I'd like to kind of decrease it a little bit. I mean, it looked fine before, I would say, but you know, why not make it a little bit more realistic? So I ended up just kind of undoing everything I did, so just forget I said that. So it should be fine. At the moment, I'm not really worried about traffic. Obviously, there's nobody living here right now, and I think first and foremost, we should, obviously establish these as a side road network, right? So we really don't expect anybody to be coming down here that is not working directly at these buildings. That's kind of the goal of this area. So what I would like also to do a bit is kind of bring this road down a bit to match up with the building, so it doesn't look so stupid. Maybe we don't have terraform unlocking yet. Maybe bring this down as well with it, just to create, again, I like my cities to look normal, and I'm not the type of guy to put this off, plop it down and then look at it later. I like to kind of make sure it looks okay from the jump. That's kind of how I do things. Like if you don't like this part of things, feel free to just skip it, and no hard feelings. I completely understand if this part of things is not to your liking. So I think we'll probably revisit that when we have a little bit more terraforming unlocked, because that's not going to improve, I don't think. So we've got our inland eco water treatment plant. Now we're going to hook that up to the water grid, well, not water grid, but the water system. And from then, so we've got our power here generating 6 megawatts or something like that. We got a water pumping station for our water source, and we've got our inland water treatment plant. So other than that, we should be good to go insofar as getting people to live in here. One thing I will say, so we'll go ahead and unpause this and let people start moving in. So also, like I said, I want this series to be kind of educational. It's not educational, but kind of teaching people how to play and how to get the most out of their cities rather than just kind of like building it as fast as possible. So one thing I will say is what I'm doing right now is definitely I thought these were allowed to go underwater. Never mind. And there we go. We'll do that. We'll hook this up. Hopefully we'll get some zoning here so that people can actually get power. For now, we'll build up there. So yeah, like I said, one of the things I want to do is create kind of like bring you guys like along the journey so that you can see how these things are done. I think a lot of creators tend to, which is fine, you know, everyone is entitled to their own vision and whatnot, but I do enjoy kind of bringing people along so that they know what this type of thing entails. Like I said, these will not stay here without a doubt. None of these power lines will stay here when this is a fully built out community. And another thing I will say regarding the population revisited mod, that you will see that there will be changes in the distribution of for the city. At least you will see differences in the distribution of buildings. So with this mod, you're likely to see a much lower proportion of commercial buildings. The reason is because with this mod, it revamps the entirety of the way that your Sims move around your city. So a building, you know, in the vanilla game might hold 5 or 10 jobs. In this mod, it will be accurate to the building size. So if you have a huge building, it will support 20, 30, 40 jobs. So with this mod, you end up having a lot lower need for commercial in general, and industrial. And it actually, I do believe it creates a more realistic environment. You know, obviously most of where people live is not all industrial, or not 30% industrial, 30% commercial. It's much more, you know, especially in suburban America, at least, there tend to be a lot more residential with few pockets of commercial. So as we let these fill in, there's also, you know, something else I'd like to mention. You will see that the way I like to build communities is kind of, you know, live in, work in, and you know, buy and shop in. I like to create communities that allow for pedestrian activity along to all different types of communities. Obviously, I don't believe that the game handles industrial all that well with the pollution, so we tend to have to keep the industrial far away. But you will see me create a lot of multi-use zoning. So you'll see me creating a lot of stores around residential to allow for people to bike and to walk, to limit the stress on our transit and road systems. So like I said before, one of the things I'm going to want to do is upgrade this roundabout, make it a two-way interchange. Obviously, we don't have, you know, all this money to build one of them, you know, large interchanges as well. I don't think that they're even unlockable at the moment, just a roundabout. Yeah, I mean, you need very high population. So what we'll do, I think, is kind of make our own interchange as nice as we can make it. It might be a bit janky, but we gotta do what we gotta do for the moment. And I think actually I have a better idea. So what we'll do is we will make this let's see, we'll pause here for a second. We'll go ahead and make this a 2-lane road. So that our citizens can go to and from the area across the way, which I think most people would like the ability to. So we'll bring this out here, and I think a good option is probably to create a roundabout here at the stub, just so that there's a little bit better traffic flow with respect to this interchange on the highway. So what we'll do is bring this road back around. I think this would be a decent angle. Yeah, looks good. Now created that, so that looks fine. Yep, doesn't look too bad. And then perhaps we will make a rather long but necessary on-ramp onto this highway. And like I said, you know, this is likely to not be a permanent. I mean, it won't. You know, knowing me, this will not be a permanent solution. I don't love the way this looks. I don't think it'll be the best, but I do think it at least provides the opportunity for us to get these infrastructure changes done as early as possible when we don't have everything unlocked. So, just want to clarify as much as I can. You know, and like I said, you know, to me it's important to get the why, and not just the how, but the why. So, you know, why we're doing certain things, why, you know, we're playing the game in a certain way. So I'm gonna upgrade this road just for consistency. Whenever we get the upgraded highway pieces, we will improve that a bit. So we can do that here as well. It's good. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to get a sound barrier in that at some point. So like as you can see, we're kind of losing money, which is to be expected. Again, with this level of population, it's expected that we're not going to be bringing in all that much tax revenue. So the biggest, that's why I said I wanted to keep the money as high as possible. So the goal now is to kind of really rush to get some more tax revenue. So with that being said, let's expand our industrial area. That looks... What I'll do is I'll do a little cheat here. So bring a road through the middle. It's just a cheat, like I said. Allows me to keep them lined up. So we'll immediately start zoning this industrial just so that we can get more cash flow. So we're gonna put a little bit of commercial here just to support this industrial area, even though we don't have much demand. Obviously, industrial areas, we want, like I said, we want to keep the industrial areas to industrial usages. So if there's a lot of industrial here, we want to make sure that they have restaurants, they have they have support for this area, so they're not going across the way back to a residential district and using the facilities there. And that's not a it's not a huge issue. I'm not I don't it's just mixing those levels of traffic is just not conducive for a efficient city traffic design. So, and you'll see I actually focus, as a player personally, I focus a lot of time on traffic. So it looks good. As you can see, we're already approaching the green here, which is great. As this industrial area fills out, we'll most likely be there, and I think even this small of an area will probably bring that all the way down to 0, quite honestly. Let's see, we're gonna use the city vitals mod here. It's a great mod. I love it. Allows you to just keep tabs on everything going on in your city. So yeah, like we saw, obviously this area does not have a connection to the water system, so we'll go ahead and build that out. Like I said, this is why we keep the money in the bank, of course, because if we don't, we're SOL. So got them water, and I'm thinking potentially we can get a cross highway power line and get support there. Eventually, like I said, all these things will be gone. These power lines will not stay here, I promise. We will definitely have a gorgeous community for ourselves as time goes on. So it's rather surprised. Oh no, so they haven't filled out. Okay. This is, for reference, this is a tropical theme, I believe. Really nice build. I actually think it makes the buildings look so much better. I highly recommend this theme, even if you're not on a tropical map. So yeah, we're still in the negative. I imagine that's probably chalked up to some of the roadways are quite large, a bit larger than this community would likely have at this stage of its lifespan. But like I said, we're trying to support the growth before it happens. So as you can see, also I'm playing with the traffic tool. So this is a huge tool that I hadn't known about for a very long time. If you open the info views panel and go down to traffic routes, you go ahead and click that, and you get the routes as well as an opportunity to select junctions. Junctions is a huge part of why you might have traffic issues. A lot of times when you build roundabouts with the roundabout tool, or just in general, you actually get traffic lights that this, for example, these might be on, which is a nightmare. Obviously, this traffic is supposed to yield to the traffic in the roundabout. There's not supposed to be any level of stopping in that direction. So what we're going to do is create stops here for more efficient travel. But being the main road, we want traffic to come down it without stopping, and allow side road traffic to come in whenever there's an opening. So as you can see, we're prioritizing the main roads here. So again, here we're prioritizing these main roads at the moment, because there is no cut across here. This will remain the main road, and we'll stop that there. And it might actually remain depending on what ends up down here. Obviously, if there's high density residential in the future, then we're gonna have to keep this road rather large and have good throughput. So at the moment, let's zone some more residential. As you can see, the industrial filled up, and we're good to go as far as industrial is concerned. We'll go ahead and zone that a bit better. And yeah, like I said, the goal here is just to yeah, it's not even full, and apparently residential demand is satisfied. So Anyway, so at the moment we just focusing on trying to get a positive cash flow, and to help that, we've gone up to two times speed just to keep the community growing, and now here we are in the green, which is great. And with that, we can potentially start looking to expand. As you can see with this mod, the demands are probably very different from what you're used to. They do behave in a very different way. So like I said, if you're seeing any differences from what you're used to playing, then that's most likely what the reason is. So I do see that we did kind of a weird mistake here where the left and the right have slightly different widths, but at this point I don't think it's worth demolishing the whole community to fix that, so we're not going to. And I would like, optimally, I think the most beneficial would be to limit the homes to the grass, as like I said, this someday might be a large beach, or potentially a good idea, let me know in the comments, is creating a bit of a boardwalk here to support some tourist uses, because obviously this is, like I said, we looking at it, this is a beautiful area. It definitely has the potential to support quite a large tourism infrastructure, so we're going to look to support that if we can. So we do seem to have an issue with staffing. Like I said, in this mod, you'll see that a lot of these buildings won't have the proper staff, because for example, this building in vanilla would most likely have 5 or 10 jobs, whereas in reality a building of this magnitude would have jobs, have amount of jobs anywhere in the realm of 20 to 50. If it's a factory of some kind, it would have a lot, quite a few workers. Something like this, right? Like this is quite a large building. It wouldn't have 10 workers. It would have something like 30 or 40. So not quite 30 or 40, but much more than we would otherwise. This is saying that there's some issues with this. I don't think that is messing with the AI. I'd be very shocked if it were. So I'm not going to worry about that too much until there's reason to be concerned. I'm also going to check. It does look like this is a light, so I'm going to remove that as well. Make that stop. Perfect. Okay. Doing good. We're doing good. So yeah, obviously pursuant to the need for industrial workers, we're going to continue to build out a residential area here, just to kind of the backbone of our community here. And I would like to continue to contour this along the grass, just to make sure that we're respecting the landscape of this area. So I think what we'll do is connect this up down here. That should do fine. And some more residential. So now for commercial, this, even though we don't have commercial demand, that's fine. We'll delineate that now, just so that we don't have to do so later. My vision for this area will likely be kind of a commercial hub here. But as our community is so in its absolute infancy, I don't want to worry too much about that, and we can absolutely rezone that later to more relevant usages. So, obviously the demand in this mod is like I said, very different from vanilla. So you'll see that there's a ton of residential demand, very little commercial, and because there's not many workers here, there's potential to see some level of abandonment, just because it's realistic populations. So. Yeah, we're just gonna wait for this to build in. It's no problem. Maybe speed it up a little bit just to keep things moving. We'll continue to build here. This likely the boardwalk, air quote boardwalk, future boardwalk area will likely be the candidate for the higher income area. And we'll likely see high land values in this area, which will be great. Cool. So we have now, New Mountain View has now reached Little Hamlet territory. So we have quite a bit to add here, which is going to be great for our community. Medical clinic, all great stuff. Elementary school, all great stuff for the future vision of this area. Go ahead and build out this water infrastructure now, just to kind of avoid having to do it at a later time. I often forget about water, so it's good to kind of get that done. I mean, we have the money for it anyway, so it's quite honestly. This is actually at this early while using the realistic population mod, I've never seen that healthy of a cash flow. So that is great to see, very great to see. And because we want to, you know, focus our industrial activities, I will go ahead and place a recycling center on this part of town. Like I said, we do not, in my communities, I do not like to mix the traffic of different areas. So it's great that we have this access to the highway. Although this will most likely have to be turned into a 4-way intersection, which I have a pretty great asset for that. Yeah, likely will have to be the solution. So I think, let me see what the upkeep is. Yeah, I think we can afford a nice little elementary school. I'm often very progressive in terms of how much money I spend on services at the very beginning, just because, in my opinion, it very much accelerates the real estate development of the community. And I think you guys will be able to see that with how the community progresses by adding this. It's a nice little position as well, right here on the corner. Could be better. I think maybe it would be better probably if it was facing this way. So we'll go ahead and do that, and turn on road anarchy while we're at it. We will put it there. Great. So that's set, and then we don't have the money for the medical clinic, but once we do, we'll definitely go ahead and plop that down somewhere else. And I think like you know, like I said, we have quite healthy residential demand. This area is now appears to be fully staffed, which is great. We have very high employment in our area. 95% is fantastic. So we'll want to prioritize getting more people in the area to live. We will check the electrical situation. Go ahead and pause it so they don't get any needless outages. We will connect that up here. And I think the best solution is to start to remove this. Should be there fine. We'll move it a little bit in. I actually don't even think that works because the lines are different, so let me just redraw that. Like I said, I'm the type of guy that I like to do things right the first time rather than setting myself debt that I have to fix later on. It's not my style, so I apologize if that's frustrating, but it is what it is. So we'll see. Everything should be good. Yep, good. The game somehow does not understand that electricity does flow at the speed of light. I don't know if it's bugged out there or what, but should be fine. Oh, electricity availability is low. Okay, gotcha. So obviously we've been expanding pretty quickly, so we do have an issue with electricity at the moment. And I think while we're if we ended up going negative, I would definitely prioritize getting a loan just to get that electricity up. But since we're positive, I think we'll just wait until we get the money for it. And they'll have to suffer the blackouts for the time being, unfortunately. Again, early game cash flow is very important because we need to make sure that we are supplying these districts. These are pre-zoned, right? So as industrial demand increases, these will start building out. So we need to make sure that as these start to build out, and we could control that. We could de-zone these, but I think it's just for more natural growth. We allow that to happen as time goes on. So we also added this little enclave here, so we actually will be fine. I think we're gonna start getting even more money, so that's great. Oh, it looks like okay. So it looks like we've actually somehow fixed that. So good mayor here by doing nothing. Yeah, we'll leave the rain on one now. It's kind of moody. just to get this. Maybe we could move these. Oop, that's not what I want. Kind of cool curve though, actually. Didn't think about that. That's the weird part about working when you use. I've seen this many times. When you move it with power lines, it has very odd behavior. So you kind of have to like play with it a bit. It's a bit finicky. Okay, so we'll do that. Connect this road up. And I've noticed now that it's another step down. So we've got 4, 2, 1, 0. So my mistake, but I think it'll be fine in the long run. So I'm certainly not a perfectionist. I think you could probably tell from the first video I am not a perfectionist, but that's okay. Everyone is different. So yeah, we're doing good. Garbage processing status is fine. Healthcare availability, like we said, we want to build that clinic as soon as possible. So I'm keeping a close eye as we're building out here on what our electricity availability is like. If it turns out to be too low when we pop this medical clinic, we're going to have to buy a wind turbine. So the healthy choice might be to wait until we have enough money to do both of them, just so that we're covered in case we need to add another wind turbine, and that's not another blackout for our citizens. This is an example of proper planning for them, should they, to allow them to not be inconvenienced by our growth choices. So again, yeah, you can see there's a lot of need for workers. So I mean, we only have a population of about 500 right now. So if each job, if each building is supporting something like 20 or 30 jobs, we really don't have that many people. So definitely got to prioritize getting this residential growth going. And I'm sure you guys saw on the main road here, we're actually having issues with commercial jobs as well, which again, like I said, with the mod is to be absolutely expected, and I'm not really concerned about solving that. So like I said, we'll definitely respect the area and the grass just to keep it. It also adds a bit of variety. I think it adds a bit of a nice touch. So we'll keep that in mind here. Build out some water infrastructure as well. Yeah, if you see me, like I said, obviously want to support the newer players. If you see me, like I did here, I created a middle section. That just allowed, the game can be sometimes a bit moody about where you place things. So placing the first node and then connecting it to the existing actually gives a lot more flexibility with angles like this, because obviously the straight lines don't really work there. So good. Now you can see we have commercial demand, although I think it'll end up being a problem because we have commercial demand as far as consumerism, but we don't really have the ability to support high levels of consumer jobs. So we want to be very careful about how quickly we move to support the commercial industries here. Just because the last thing we need is abandoned buildings in the community at this point. Looking good. Again, electricity availability isn't likely to be a problem with just the one wind turbine, so hopefully we'll get to 2200 soon. I don't usually like to do landfills, especially because like I said, I'm on the Green City pack or whatever, so there's not really a need to do landfills. The recycling center actually does take care of garbage, so I don't have garbage issues when I use these. They're just preferred in my opinion. There's no need to force it if we don't have to. And the landfills also create like just an insane amount of pollution. And I think if we're doing like a modern, like I like to think if modern cities that are being created now, for example, like a lot, obviously that doesn't really occur often. Usually cities that are going on right now have very deep roots in terms of their history, but moving forward, I think it is better if we're creating a new community. Let's be forward thinking. Let's support good ideals and making sure that we're taking care of the environment for sure. That's definitely something I believe in. So just want to bring this in a bit so that when the time comes to connect these two rows, it's a bit more doable. That looks good. Yeah, it'll be perfect. So yeah, no. So things are going good. I mean, got good growth here. Rezone that. Huge pro tip: when you are creating new roads like this, or you're rezoning or you're plopping things like I plopped that school. Always make sure to go back into your zones. Make sure that the zones are correct. And I think here we will definitely go ahead and zone some of these because we have the infrastructure here. We have the water pipes. We might as well. It's otherwise kind of just wasting that upkeep on that infrastructure there. And sooner than later, we're gonna have to move these because this is like 6 megawatts. We can definitely get 8 or so out of each of these. So we're definitely gonna be moving those later on as we grow. And obviously, this is extremely ugly and loud for any of our community members in this area. Definitely want to keep that in mind. I think we'll do a bit of a curve there. That looks great. Yeah. Yeah, it looks great. Sorry to those people, but it is what it is. Yeah, like I said, we're gonna keep the zoning off the beach. It's not. You would never really see zoning on a beach like this. I mean, I guess obviously if there was a quay of some sort, we don't have that unlocked yet. But if there was a quay or maybe anything like that, you would see it. But I still think it's very unrealistic for this. Again, a community of 700 would not be doing this. So I'd like to keep things realistic if possible. And I do think this will likely be moved to another location, or we can, I think we could probably do that now because this is not a serviced building, so we can definitely keep our municipal buildings over here. Maybe kind of obviously I want to limit the amount of destruction we're doing to existing buildings. Definitely don't want to limit that. Yeah, anyway, the reason why I'm doing this is because I actually think it's Worthy Village. Nice, cool. Unlocked some cool things here. So I want to make sure that because the challenges of this area, and because we have that should be resolved shortly. Because we have this highway cutting right through, which I think eventually we'll likely have to. One of the bigger episodes will be moving this highway kind of along this area, although the landscape, the topography is quite challenging. Because of that, this is going to be a very, very great area. It's going to be likely a tourist area, likely support a lot of tourism industry. We'll see fishing and other things like that, boats. So I think we're going to want to be able to keep as much of this as non-industrial / municipal uses for the time being. So I think, the video is getting pretty long. This is probably a great place to end it. At the moment, New Mountain View is looking pretty good. We're growing quite fast at about 800, 900 people. The demand for all of our industries is looking healthy. We have no abandoned buildings, things of that nature. So I think it's a great place to leave it. That's all I have for today. I really appreciate those of you who stuck around to the end. I know it's a very long video. Really appreciate that. And all my rambling and also constant explanation of things. But yeah, so keep an eye out for episode 2 for Mountain View coming up soon. Remember to drop a like if you liked the video and consider subscribing if you'd like to see more content from me. Other than that, thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in episode 2.